Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Shuaib Mohammad Bhat. I'm working as Assistant Professor in the Department of English. Today in this video lecture, I shall be talking about outcome-based education, its introduction and significance I'll be sharing with you. So the lecture is going to be very interesting lecture because to talk upon this new model of education, it's new because of many reasons. It's against the traditional mode of teaching and learning. So for different reasons, it's new. So to talk upon this model of education, it's always interesting to know what are the different strategies, how can we assess students, how students can excel in their academics, curricular, co-curricular activities. So to talk about this whole set of activities which are related to students' academics, academics and all. So it's always interesting to speak on such topics. Let's go with the OBE, outcome-based education. I would like to share the background of OBE first. What is the background of outcome-based education? Let's talk about background. I would like to quote here a great academician of all times and a psychologist, a renowned academician and a renowned psychologist by the name Spady, William G. Spady. William G. Spady is best known as the father of outcome-based education. It's he who coined the term OBE in year 1988. So this term was first introduced by William G. Spady. It was the year 1988. So almost it's before 35 years, for 34 years, the term has been introduced by William G. Spady, but there are a lot of institutions around the globe who are still unfamiliar with OBE, who doesn't know what OBE, which doesn't know what OBE is. So the term was coined by William G. Spady in 1988, and William G. Spady is best known as the father of outcome-based education. William's attempt in enhancing the quality of educational ecosystem by introducing outcome-based approach have indeed brought a revolutionary change. Spady felt that there is a need to break up from the traditional mode of education, to say goodbye to the traditional mode of education, to get rid of the strategies which were used in traditional mode of education. He felt there is a need of some new system. Because see, human mind grows, it develops. Society grows, it develops. We see a lot of advantage. We see a lot of technologies. We see lot of machineries coming nowadays. So when there is change in everything, when every fragment of the society is changing, is developing, is progressing, so Spady felt there is a need for the education system to be changed, or this traditional mode of education should be replaced. So this outcome-based approach, it has brought a revolutionary change in the circle of academia. So academia got boosted, or I can say in other words, these approaches have boosted the academics. Unlike the traditional way of teaching and learning, the OBE model focuses on mapping, measuring, achieving predetermined educational goals. Unlike the traditional method, which was wholly and solely based on teaching and learning, this OBE model, it focuses on three elements. One is mapping, second is measuring, and third is achieving. Three elements are there: mapping, measuring, and achieving. So it just focuses on these three points and achieving predetermined educational goals. So It talks about mapping, how to map the course outcome with the program outcome, and how to measure, how to assess the students, and how to achieve predetermined educational goals, because it relies upon the objectives which it gives to its students or learners before they choose a course. So at the end, this module, it relies on the achieving, it relies on the measuring of the achieved goals at the end of every course. The educational goals are not limited to academics but also include attributes like educational goals. They are not limited to academics. There is not any limitation for the educational goals, but it includes attributes like problem analysis and solving, then ability to simplify complex learning methods, individual and teamwork, professionalism, ethics, communication skills, lifelong learning. So as I told you, educational goals, they're not limited to academics, but they also include attributes like these points which I told you, and which you can easily read or look from the slide. Now, the question is, why outcome-based education? What is the need to have outcome-based education? Why should we replace the traditional mode of teaching learning? Traditional mode of teaching learning has also produced big philosophers. We have Aristotle, we have Plato, we have a lot of philosophers, we have a lot of writers, we have a lot of people who did wonders, who brought laurels in their subjects, in mathematics, in science, in other fields. What was the need to change the traditional mode of education? Let's try to understand that. Let's try to find out the need which led the change or the replacement of traditional teaching learning method. So before understanding the concept of OBE, we must understand why there is a need for an outcome-based education. This I told you. We need to understand why was this new model of education system needed? Why? What are the factors that have made OBE the most sensible way of learning in the current situation? Now, what are the different factors which made this new model of education as a sensible way of learning? In current scenario, in contemporary world, why has this OBE got such a prominence, such a superiority? It's being termed as the most sensible way of learning can be done with the OBE model. Why? What are the factors? What it has done? What is its outlook? What does it contain by which it achieved such grace and prominence? Well, the prime reason is unemployment. I would be discussing this only reason because we have other concepts to clear, other things to clear. But here I would like to talk about one reason which led the emergence of OBE, that is unemployment. And see, here is the flow of the typical educational system. How teachers and students spend countless time and effort in academic lectures that focus on theoretical aspects. In the typical education system or educational system, orthodox educational system, we see teachers and students, they spend a lot of time and lot of energy in academic lectures, and the result is theoretical aspect. Then a whole amount of parents' hard-earned money is spent on children's studies. Every parent's hard-earned money, every parent is spending his or her hard-earned money on the studies of child or on the studies of the children. Then, but the employment ratio is low due to the prevailing gap between industry recruitments and curriculum, thus impacts the skill sets. Okay, now we have the traditional mode of education where a teacher and student spends a lot of time for countless lectures, but the result is only that theoretical aspect. So we are not giving any practical training in the orthodox system of education to the students. So that's more based on theoretical aspect. Then, and parents, they spend their hard-earned money on the studies of children. And when it comes to employment, the ratio is very low. It's because of the prevailing gap. There is a gap between industry recruitments and curriculum. The curriculum of students has not been built in such a way so that it can help a student when he or she is graduated from a college, or when he or she has achieved a master's degree. So a student is not able to get a job because he is not having those skill sets. He is not equipped with those skill sets which are required in the industry, in a particular organization, in a particular department. So there is a wide gap is there between industry recruitments and curriculum. So it means the curriculum should be reconstructed. I'm telling you what are the ways which have given some space, which have given us a platform for the OBE to emerge, which gave the people like William Spaddy a stimulus to start a new model of education. Then, now as per the reports of CMIE, which is an agency which talks about the economy of India, it talks about the economy. So India's unemployment rate as of now is shocking and saddening. These are the latest reports of CMI, which show us the alarming condition of unemployment. The ratio regarding unemployment is shocking and saddening. And that's why it is essential to change the perspective of educationalists and encourage them to adopt an outcome-based learning system. So this is the main reason that the people who are giving education, the people who are associated with education, this gives them a reason to think about a new system of education by which they can provide that sort of education to the students, by which they can easily get jobs. Because as I told you, the fault lies in the curriculum. Our curriculum has not been constructed in such a way so that it can reduce unemployment. It's not aligning with the requirements of the industry. So that's why it's essential to change the perspective of educationalists and encourage them to adopt some educational system which is based on outcome, where the outcome of the studies will help a student to get a job in the market, where these outcomes make a student able to survive in his life. So besides gaining academic knowledge, students need to have skills, practical experience that would help them grow in their careers. So now the new educational system, which we know as OBE, outcome-based education, it gives students skills and practical experience. These two things are needed for the students, for the people. Because when students are coming out of the college as graduates, they are having good academic records, but they don't have skills. Because skills, they allow you to sustain in a company or in an industry. You work on the basis of your skills. You are not going to any information technology as a mentor to teach students there. You should be a people equipped with a lot of skills so that you can perform your duties there and you can work for the welfare of both company and public. So besides gaining only academic knowledge cannot let you to survive, is not appreciated here. Only that is not. Then with academic knowledge, students must have skills and practical experience that would help them grow in their careers. So in order to grow one's career, one should have knowledge aided with or supported with skills and practical experience. These things can be given to you by OBE, by outcome-based education. The OBE framework works in connection with Bloom's taxonomy framework to fill up such learning gaps by covering the given educational areas. These learning gaps, the gap of skills, the gap of practical experience, which traditional educational system was not giving to students. This gap can be coped up. It can be covered by the OBE when it works with Bloom's taxonomy framework. I'll show you how. See, now by covering the given educational areas, when we cover these educational given areas, we can cover the gap like knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Now, the new system of education, the OBE education model, it's heavily based on, it heavily just tries to just educate students, to give students like knowledge, to make them good at comprehension, application of all that which they have learned. They should apply this in their real life, and they should make a fair analysis and synthesis, then evaluation. So this is what OBE is talking about. Then let's see what was the traditional, how is OBE, that we'll see how is outcome-based education different from traditional education. So it's worth recognizing the benefits and influences of outcome-based education compared to traditional education in the overall education system and specific learners. It's always better to know about outcome-based education and traditional education. What is the influence of outcome-based education? Outcome-based education, when we talk about outcome-based education, it focuses on practical skills, competencies, and real-world applications. Outcome-based education, it focuses on practical skills which are required in the contemporary world. And competencies, it makes a student competent, overall development, and real-world applications. And one should be aware of all those applications which one may be needing in the real life. Now, if we talk about traditional education, that only emphasizes the transfer of content knowledge. It heavily relies on transferring content knowledge. So it never talks about skills, real-world applications, and competencies. Then, OBE tends to engage students more actively in their learning process. OBE it makes students busy with the learning process. It indulges or throws students in the learning process actively. Then, if we talk about traditional education relies more on passive learning. It relies more on passive learning, traditional education. So there is no active participation of students in learning process. Rather, what we see, there is a passive learning. Then it promotes critical thinking and problem solving skills. Outcome-based education, it promotes critical thinking and problem solving skills. These skills are much needed for the modern life. If you want to live life, if you want to survive, so you should have critical thinking and problem solving skills. This can be given to you by outcome-based education. Now, if we talk about traditional education, it depends more toward theoretical understanding than practical application. Again, we have this theoretical understanding, but not practical application, but not critical thinking or problem solving skills. Outcome-based education is inherently flexible and adaptable to change in industries and societal needs. Outcome-based education is flexible inherently. So it itself is flexible, it's adaptable to change, it can adapt to change in industries and societal needs. But traditional education, it may emphasize established knowledge rather than current trends. It's bound to the established order, established rules, but it cannot change. It cannot just align with the current trend. It cannot change its nature about the current trends. It works as it works because it has a fixed pathway. It has a fixed order and fixed structure. It follows that. But when we talk about outcome-based education, it's adaptable to change. It can be adapted. It can be changed. It can be modified. Now, outcome-based education, out of all this discussion, we come to know outcome-based education is a student-centric teaching and learning methodology. It is a teaching learning methodology which is totally student-centered. Here, we do not give much space to the teacher, to the knowledge provider. Obviously, without teacher, no education will be conveyed. No transformation, no learning will happen. But it is student-centric. We have the main focus of attention is student rather than teacher. So in which the course delivery, assessment and plan to achieve stated objectives and outcomes. In this student-centric teaching and learning methodology, it is that methodology in which course delivery and assessment are planned. Your course delivery, how will you deliver the lecture? When will you deliver the lecture? Where will you deliver the lecture? It's all planned. And assessment, how you are going to assess your students. They all are planned to achieve stated objectives and outcomes, because every course, according to outcome-based education, is having its objectives and outcomes. So in order to achieve these objectives and outcomes, the course methodology, the course delivery and course assessments are already planned so that course outcomes and objectives can be achieved at the end of every course by students. Then, it focuses on measuring student performance, that is outcomes, and its main focus is to measure student performance. So it goes with the student performance. It heavily relies on measuring the student performance at the end of every level, course level. There are some key features for the implementation of outcome-based education. These key features are: number one, development of curriculum framework that outlines specific and measurable outcome. First thing is development of curriculum framework. To develop the curriculum, to develop the framework, and it should be developed in such a way so that it outlines specific and measurable outcomes. It should outline specific and measurable outcomes. Outcomes must not be some obscure outcomes or abstract outcomes which cannot be measured at the end or which cannot be achieved by the students. So the first thing is the development of curriculum, and that will outline specific and measurable outcomes so that the student may be able to achieve those outcomes at the end of the course. Then the second is instructional methodology. The second thing which is a key feature for the implementation of outcome-based education, that is it ensures delivery for specified outcomes. So when the delivery is for specified outcomes, that means the delivery may not be free, it may not be flexible. It may not go according to your own ideology and own perceptions. So there is a proper way of delivery of lectures in order to ensure that some specified outcomes can be achieved by the students at the end of every course. Then, standards-based assessments. It determines whether students have achieved the stated standard. We have standard-based assessments. The assessments are not like the traditional mode of education. Like in traditional mode of education, we are having only examinations at the end. But here we are having different assessments. We are having labs and their lab assessments are there. We are going with different activities, assignments, tech talks, quizzes. We are going with certain activities are there by which we assess students. It's not that orthodox mode of having or conducting exam and writing answers, cramming the answers only. Oh, that is also there in OBE, but apart from that, there are certain other parameters for the assessment of student. Then, outcome-based education step by step. Let's see what outcome-based education is step by step. Outcome-based education process step by step. First is institution's vision and mission. Institutions need to decide a short-term as well as long-term goal in terms of students' learning outcomes. So every institute which is following outcome-based education, they must decide short-term as well as long-term goals in terms of students' learning outcomes, their personal growth, skill development, and institution's overall performance. In order to enhance the students' personal growth, in order to enhance the chances where student can learn outcomes, can achieve outcomes, in order to just grow the skills, or in order to have the skill development in the student, and for institution's overall performance, every institution should decide some short-term and long-term goals. The vision and mission should be divided as per the department first. The vision and mission should be divided as per the departments first, so that higher aim of entire institution could be achieved within a specified time. Why? When we divide vision and mission as per departments, so the higher aim of entire institution could be achieved within a specified time. The higher aims of that institution will be easily achieved in a specified time. Department can formulate its vision and mission in aligned with institution vision and mission. Now the institute itself, it has short-term and long-term goals. Institutions have prepared vision and mission. Then departments will also prepare vision and mission for different departments. And all these visions and missions of different departments, they should align with the institute's vision and mission. It should not like that the institution is talking about excellence in education, but the department's vision and mission is something else that does not rely on excellence, rather that relies on some other mode of academics. So department's vision and mission, it should align with the vision and mission of institution. Institutions can follow the given steps to define their vision and mission department-wise. How can institutions divide vision and mission in different departments? Number one is brainstorming sessions with experts and experienced faculty of various departments. The first thing institutions should do, they should conduct some brainstorming sessions with experts and experienced faculty of various departments, so that they can get an idea about the vision and mission of departments. Then, speaking to industry professionals and alumni batches. Passing out batches and industry professionals should be included in the board. When institutions are dividing these visions and missions in the departments, they should talk to industry professionals. They should talk to the students who left their institution, to their alumni. They should talk to them so that they can get some stuff, so that they can get a material by which they can know what are the different things we should include in our vision and mission. Because the passing out the students who passed your institution, they will tell you what problems they have faced while finding a job, or they'll let you know how easier they will let you know how easier it was them to find a job when they got graduated from your college. So, and they should also talk to industry professionals, because industry professionals will tell you what they are demanding, what they are requiring nowadays. So when you come to know about the needs of the people, when you come to know about the prerequisites which are required in order to get a job, you will make, or you will prepare your vision and mission for the departments in that way. Then analyzing the opinions and deciding a solid plan of action. Now we should analyze these opinions, different opinions given by different experts and professors, and then we can decide a solid plan of action. It's not like vision and mission has been randomly prepared by someone. No, it should align with the institution's vision and mission, and it should be made in collaboration with different experts and senior faculty members, experienced faculty members. It should be prepared while taking consideration from industry professionals and alumni also. Once the vision and mission is clear, institutions need to focus on teaching learning processes. When vision and mission is prepared, then institutes should move towards teaching learning processes that provide the world-class education to their students. And it should be that teaching learning process which can provide world-class education to the students. Then, now establishing the program educational objectives and program outcomes. We'll be talking about now PEOs, program educational objectives, which is a main part of OBE. Program educational objectives, which are normally known as PEOs, specify the expected outcomes of students once they graduate, mostly the way they conduct their behavior, ethics, and excel in their career. Program outcomes, they specify the expected. These are the expected outcomes of students once they graduate. So once a student got the degree, once the student completes a program, then his or her program outcomes can be calculated, can be measured. So mostly the way they conduct their behavior and ethics and excel in their careers. Obviously, now here is a step-by-step approach to establish the PEOs for institutions. Now we have a step-by-step procedure by which we can establish the PEOs for institutions. Step number 1 is institutions need to consider the vision and mission statements and prepare a plan of action to achieve PEOs. First thing is, all the institutions, they need to consider, while preparing program educational objectives, the institutions should take in consideration vision and mission. What is the vision and mission of your institute? When you are preparing your program educational objectives, you should take help of your vision and mission. That means it should align with that. Step number 2 is, experienced faculty members and head of the department must create a draft and share it across the departments. Head of the department and experienced faculty members, they can create a draft of program educational objectives and they can then share it with the department. Point number 3, step 3 is, the points mentioned in the draft and processes that need to be implemented can be discussed for gaining approval of authorities. All the points which we have included in the draft and this process, so they should be discussed for gaining approval of authorities. It should be discussed with the authorities so that it can be approved. Then step number 4 is, the final prepared draft, after taking the views of everyone in consideration should be presented to the Program Assessment Committee, which we call as PAC, Program Assessment Committee, so that they can further forward it to the Dean Advisory Board, DAB. So this final draft, it should be presented to the Program Assessment Committee. It's there in every institute, and this committee then further forwards it to DAB, Department Advisory Board. Then step number 5 is the Departmental Advisory Board. This DAB, it reviews the points and sends the draft to the Board of Studies and Academic Council to the final approval. Then it's again being sent to Board of Studies and Academic Council for the final approval. Once the institution gets approval, they need to design a curriculum that can help students to grow personally as well as professionally. Once it is approved by all these heads, by all these chairs, then the institution can design a curriculum, can design syllabus, can design whole curriculum in which a student can grow personally and professionally. Then step number 6 is institutions need to analyze the student learning outcomes periodically. Now all the institutions, they have to analyze the student learning outcomes periodically after a certain period to identify the learning gaps and rectify them, so that the institution can learn, can know, is there any learning gap? If there is learning gap, it can be rectified. It can be rectified. It can be modified. Example of PEOs, Program Educational Outcomes. See, institutions may decide to work on the following. These are the program educational outcomes, like professional development of students, problem solving skills, industry specific skills development, creativity enhancement. These are program educational outcomes. While taking consideration in these outcomes, then institution can design the curriculum. Then we have establishing the program outcomes. How can we establish now POs, program outcomes? Program outcomes can be defined as the objectives achieved at the end of any specialization or discipline. These are the outcomes which can be achieved at the end of any specialization or discipline. These attributes are mapped while a student is doing graduation and determined when they get a degree. These outcomes are mapped and they are being evaluated and measured at the end of the degree. Now here is again a step-by-step approach to establish now PO, program outcome or program outcomes, POs. Step number 1 is the program coordinator consults with the senior faculty members and prepares a draft mentioning the POs. There is a program coordinator. He consults the senior faculty members and prepares a draft for program outcome. Then the program coordinator also speaks to the students that belong to the alumni batch, passed outs, he talks to the passed out students, industry representatives, and various employers to understand the recruitment of current industry and trends. In order to draft the program outcome, the program coordinator should talk to alumni, passed out students, industry representatives, and employers so that he or she can better understand the requirement of current industry. Now, after analyzing the views, he or she can edit the draft and send it to the Program Assessment Committee, to the PAC. Then, step 3, the Program Assessment Committee reviews the draft and sends it to then it's being sent to the DAB by the PAC to get the final approval. So there is no need to go the council again, to go other departments again. So it is DAB who finally approves it. So this DAB, Department Advisory Board, makes the final decision by moderating the draft. Now, I would be like talking about NBA, National Board of Accreditation. It has mentioned 12 graduate attributes in their guidelines to attain the PO successfully. One is knowledge, and there is problem analysis capability, The third one is development and designing of system. Then it's analyze and solve complex problems, use of latest tools and devices, society's responsibilities, environment, ethics of individuals, teamwork and individual contribution, communication, finance and management of project, lifelong learner. Establishing the course outcome. How can we establish our course outcomes? See, at the top is program educational outcomes, then program outcomes, then it's course outcome. Course outcomes are the objectives that are achieved at the end of any semester or year. Course outcome we achieve at the end of any semester or year. For instance, like if a student is studying a particular course, then the outcomes would be concluded on the basis of marks, grades achieved in theory and practical lessons. If a student is learning any course, his outcomes would be measured on the basis of grades and marks. Examples of COs, like if you have course English, its course code is this. So on the successful completion of the English course, the student must be able to achieve. There are some course outcomes. 6 are they. A student must be able to achieve CO1 course outcome. Remember, second is understand, third is apply, fourth is analyze, fifth evaluate, sixth is create. So this is step-by-step process of OB. First, we have an institute's vision and mission. So this we can make by brainstorming sessions, and we can talk with experts, we can talk with alumni. Then a solid plan of action is prepared after taking views of these committees. Then we have establishing COs, PEOs, and POs. There I talked about different councils, different committees. Then we have the mapping of CO and PO. That is the final stage, which is mapping of COs and POs. So see mapping of COs. CO-PO mapping process works as follows. Like specify and obtain the course outcome. Then we need this. First one is specify and obtain course outcome. What are the course outcomes? Then we map these course outcomes with the program outcomes. Course outcome which can be achieved at the end of the semester, program outcome which can be achieved at the end of the degree. These two outcomes should be matched. Setting an appropriate weightage for CO assessment. We should set an appropriate weightage system for CO assessment. Then step 4 is measuring the COs through assessments given to students. We can measure the course outcomes through some assessments which we have given to students. Then step 5 is CO and PO attainment calculation. Then at the end we are calculating CO and PO attainment. There are certain challenges faced by educators in adopting OB. Certain challenges like managing records of students manually is tough. It's sometimes tough to record or to manage all the records manually. Then designing an appropriate curriculum, it requires a lot of efforts. And analyzing the vast student database is a draining task. To analyze such a vast database of students, it's a draining task. Keeping a tab on daily student activity and progress, it's very difficult to keep a tab on daily activities. Prioritizing the weightage of assessments. It talks about assessments, OB. So that's again a problem, to prioritize assessments only. Huge possibility of errors is there because it's manual. Manual calculations may sometimes be wrong. Improper mapping and measuring. There may sometimes occur an improper measuring of COs and POs. That's again harmful for students. It has its benefits. There is clarity. It's flexible. It's good in comparison if we compare it with other levels. And there is involvement of students. Student is expected to have greater involvement in OBE, in the education, while getting education through outcome-based education model. This is all for today about OBE. I would like to thank you. Thank you for listening me carefully. Thank you very much.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.